In today's video, I'm going to give my first book review. As I previously mentioned, mostly what I read is biographies and autobiographies. I read them of people that I respect or that I admire, whether that's musicians or athletes or actors. And so it first started with Steve Martin's book, Born Standing Up. And something about his book, I was starting to read a page a night. That was when it first came out, and that's actually when I was in college. And then that got me looking at other biographies and autobiographies and other authors and stuff. And so that's a bunch of what I've read. But then, here and there I've read some fiction and nonfiction works. And then I've started to read some historical nonfiction. And that's I think it started actually with this book. My goal on this channel isn't to be political. Again, the goal of this channel is to talk about fishing and the outdoors in Missouri, and how to tie flies. What I use, product reviews, interviews, and hunting, things like that. As I've said many times before. But this book is political, and I really enjoyed it. So it is Kabul, The Untold Story of Biden's Fiasco and the American Warriors Who Fought to the End by Jerry Dunleavy and James Hasson. So and I have notes in front of me because I knew I'd forget something. But it was published on August 15th of 2023 by Center Street. And it's 368 pages. So before I kind of get through the notes and bullet points that I have, I was interested to read this book because it was an event that it's not all that it's recent, and so I remember obviously because it was just a couple of years ago, seeing it on the television and staying up to date with it and different things. And so as I read it, I remember I remember when I heard that, and I remember when that happened. And so it's a great book, and I really encourage anyone to read it. There were a couple times, and I'm completely serious, I had to take a break for like a day from reading it, because reading it, I was getting so frustrated because of what it's talking about, not because of the book. Jerry and James did a amazing job. It has all the facts, and it's backed up, and they have the information. They have who the information came from, etc. So it wasn't them. It was just how much of the withdrawal from Afghanistan was a giant mess up. That's why I had to take a break. But yeah, it's frustrating, it's heartbreaking, it's also inspirational. So again, I highly recommend this book to everyone. Some bullet points of things that they cover. They talk about Biden's background, him growing up, and his role in politics and the different political offices that he's had. They talk about how the Afghanistan government was crumbling, but that wasn't told to the American people. We could see it, but it wasn't told. Throughout the book, it covers all the lies by the Biden administration, and who said it, and at what time, and whether it was a press conference or an interview. It talks about the intelligence community, the Pentagon, the Biden administration. Depending on what was happening, they were all blaming each other. There was nothing good. They were just blaming each other. No one was taking blame. No one was leading or doing any leadership. An interesting story that it has. For 2 weeks, there were 100 or more than 100 flights that were being directed by hand radios and mathematics on notepads, because the soldiers and military individuals didn't have the resources to do their job. So they had those. There was no plan for the stranded Americans that were in Afghanistan. There was no plan for getting them safely out. And again, the book goes into a lot of detail about all these things. And yeah, they do a lot better than probably what I'm explaining it or how I'm explaining it and stuff. They do a lot better. And again, I encourage you to read the book. The ISIS and Taliban, they were working together. They agreed not to attack the U.S., but they never agreed to help the United States. John Kirby and Biden lied about this, and said that the Taliban are our friends, and ISIS and them are working together to get our individuals out. That was a lie. The families of the 13 service members who passed away, they were disgusted by when they got to meet Biden, and basically he took over the conversation. Didn't want to hear about them, but talked about Beau Biden, and that he knew how all the families felt and stuff. And so there's a couple interviews in there, and the families didn't like that. And then there was a 30-second firefight, I believe, and I can't remember all the details and stuff, but the soldiers, the United States soldiers, were defending themselves. And so for 30 seconds, there was some firing back and forth. The soldiers that were involved in that firefight were reprimanded. And they were told that the Taliban is the United States friend and that they shouldn't have fired at them. There was 10,000 to 15,000 people left behind. 4,000 to 9,000 of those were Americans. But Antony Blinken had said that there was only 100 to 200 Americans left behind, or maybe it was 100 to 200 people left behind. I can't remember off the top of my head. So Biden had authorized $1.1 billion of United States money to go to Afghanistan after the events of Kabul. And then later another $3.5 billion on top of that 1.1 that went to them later. $7.12 billion in aircraft, ammunitions, weapons, and equipment was what was left there in Afghanistan, which the Taliban, now has. $7.12 billion worth of United States equipment. The book then goes into talking about China, how China is helping Russia and Afghanistan. It talks about the Chinese spy balloon. It talks about how Biden said that the U.S. would protect Taiwan if China were to attack, and then gives the details of Jen Psaki walking that statement back 3 different times. It also talks about during the transfer of bodies of the soldiers when they came back to the United States, how Biden checked his watch 5 times, as they were unloading them and stuff during that ceremony. And then it also, at the end of the book, it has the statements and obituaries of the 13 soldiers, one of which was from Missouri. I don't actually have his name, so I apologize about that. But again, those are just some bullet points that I wanted to list of things that the book covers. It's very well researched. The two of them, Jerry Dunleavy and James Hasson, did an incredible job. And I strongly encourage you to read this. And like I said, most of the books that I'm going to cover on my book reviews aren't political. I mean, some of them are, but the channel's not political. I just, I want to review the book or the books. So again, I encourage you to read it. If you have read it, in the comments below, let me know what your thoughts are. What did you think as you read it? And if you haven't, and then you go out and you do read it and stuff, or you listen to the audiobook, let me know your thoughts. So again, I thank you all for watching my videos, and I'll see you next time.